Hey friends, welcome to my channel, Life with Everyday Haley. If you're here, you're probably like me on a fertility journey, and I wish you the best of luck on your battle and that you have your baby, your rainbow baby, or whatever you're shooting for as quickly as possible. That is the goal. And I'm really happy that you're here. I hope that my channel brings you happiness, goodness, education, learning on my journey, something that you can put in place in your journey to help you navigate this difficult time. I'm super happy that you're here with me. And if you're new, welcome. Welcome to my channel. If you have had an endometrial biopsy or you are preparing for your endometrial biopsy, I'm super glad you're here. I have had 4 of them. 4 endometrial biopsies. Can you even believe that? I remember thinking back to when I was preparing for my first endometrial biopsy and how scared I was and how I looked on YouTube, I looked on TikTok, I looked everywhere that I could to find information about it. And what I read and what I heard scared me to death. But I'm here to say I'm alive after 4 endometrial biopsies. And so I am giving you an honest experience after my 4th biopsy. If you go to my channel, you can see more videos about my other biopsies that I've had. And the first video I shared about my initial biopsy is a really good place to start. And talking about getting ready for that first one. So I don't want to scare you. This is a disclaimer that the 4th biopsy was the worst for me. I had a little bit of complication in the biopsy, which made it a lot more painful. So I'll say that up front. So if you have an endometrial biopsy without what I'm about to explain, it's painful, but you can get through it. It's not that bad. However, what I had yesterday was excruciatingly painful, and it was the most painful thing I've ever gone through. And I can't believe that in this world of women's health, that we're not given pain medication or numbing agents or sedation. I cannot believe that. I believe that down the road, things will change. So I'm hoping for our children, our female children, if they go through this, hopefully things will be better for them and we can look back to how horrendous it was for us. That's kind of how medicine and technology works. So let me just share my candid experience of my 4th endometrial biopsy. So I have chronic endometritis found after 2 early pregnancy losses. And it's a mild case of it, but it can be a cause of recurrent pregnancy loss and miscarriage. And so my fertility clinic that I sought out after having my 2nd loss wanted to test me for this. And I said, absolutely, I trust you. They wanted to do blood work on me, which all came back pretty good. They wanted to do a saline sonogram, which really looks at that uterus. And they wanted to do a biopsy of my uterus lining. That came back abnormal. So the treatment for that is antibiotics. Now, unfortunately, it can take several rounds of treatment. It can take a lot of care to get the uterus lining unflamed and get the lining non-infected. So they did a culture and they found bad bacteria dominating my endometrium, causing the inflammation, causing the dysbiosis, and it's just not a healthy environment for an embryo. It can cause implantation failures, chemical pregnancies, and early miscarriages. So I fall into that realm. My first pregnancy loss was a chemical loss, a very early miscarriage, and my 2nd was a miscarriage. The baby stopped developing very early at 6.5 weeks, but I did not pass the pregnancy until 9.5 weeks. So that is my pregnancy loss history. So I definitely identify with someone who has chronic endometritis. And it's a big factor in my fertility puzzle that we're trying to overcome. And so how the process works is you biopsy. If it's positive, you do antibiotics. If you biopsy again, if it's still positive, you do more antibiotics. So the journey just goes like that. And it can just take time. And finding the right antibiotic can be difficult because the culturing process for looking for that certain bacteria isn't necessarily the most accurate as from what I've been researching. So for instance, my cultures oftentimes come back clear, but I'm still showing positive for chronic endometritis. And I'm not sure how exactly to understand that. I don't feel like I've truly been educated on that. From my physician team, I have a lot of questions, which sucks. But I'm continuing to be treated with antibiotics, so I'm assuming there's something we're trying to take care of or resolve. So yesterday was my 4th endometrial biopsy. I wasn't that nervous because, again, this is number 4. I hate it. It's terrible, but it's quick. You go in, you do it, you leave, and your day goes on pretty much. And so it's uncomfortable, it's very painful, but it's quick and you just move on. And so I was like, you know what, who cares? I've done this, I can do it again. Yesterday was a little bit different. So yesterday I asked for a vaginal swab to be done of my vagina to see if there was any bacteria culturing, because I've been researching that some women that have chronic endometritis can show positive for bacteria in their vagina. So I don't know why they haven't done that on me yet, but I did ask for that, and so they did send that off. And then it was time for the biopsy. So they put you on the table. They, before I get into that, I should say I do get a Valium prescription from my provider to take after I sign my consent form. So I'm a little bit more calm, and it does help a lot during this procedure. And after, in the recovery time, when you're kind of feeling bad, having that Valium in your system helps you kind of be relaxed. I signed my consent form, got on the table, undressed from the waist down. You do the whole stirrups thing. They insert a speculum to open up the canal, and then the process goes, they insert a catheter through your cervix, and then a pipelle goes through the catheter and it takes a sample of your endometrial lining. So it's about a minute procedure, overall about 5 minutes, but about a minute of real pain. And your cervix is, you know, this sounds terrible, but when I think about a cervix, I think of a scallop. Have you ever eaten a scallop? It's like a little round thing. It has a little hole in it, and it's a very small hole, but it expands, you know, when you give birth. And they have to insert that catheter through that cervix. And sometimes the cervix wants to just kind of move and not open up. And so they were having a really hard time with my cervix yesterday. And my doctor team is really skilled. So usually they can perform this, pop it through that cervix, and all is good. But that's when your cervix wants to cooperate. Well, my cervix didn't want to. So they tried for a minute or two and then they stopped. And at the time I was wondering, why aren't you just keep trying, you know, just keep trying, like you'll get it. But I was reading online after my procedure that the reason they stop is because if they accidentally puncture your cervix or your uterus, that can be very, very bad. And you can have a lot of complications and have to heal, and it's not good. So they play it safe and use a tool called a tenaculum to help them in this procedure. So the tenaculum really made this procedure over the top painful, like almost unbearable. And actually, I feel like it was unbearable, honestly. So they pull out a tenaculum. They told me, they're like, you know, we need to use an additional tool to help with this procedure. And I believe they don't start with that tool because of the additional pain that it brings. I am still in pain right now from that procedure. My cervix hurts. I can feel my cervix right now. So they pulled out the tenaculum, and they basically, if this is your cervix, they clamp your cervix and hold it together. And they kind of puncture your cervix and just kind of hold it in place. And there's nerve endings in your cervix, and it's extremely painful. So that she told me to cough when she was connecting it to my cervix. And I didn't feel any pain when I coughed, but I felt pain immediately after, just intense cramping, burning pain. And when they do this to your cervix can have a lot of pain. It can also start bleeding a lot. I don't think mine really bled a lot, but it was painful. So at that point, I was so uncomfortable and in so much pain. The biopsy hadn't even started yet. And at this point, typically I'm not in pain yet because the biopsy hasn't started. Because when they insert that catheter without the tenaculum, it's not very painful. At least not for me. It's not for me. I don't feel that very much. It doesn't really hurt me. And so the doctor didn't tell me when she was beginning the biopsy. I wish she had. So I just started feeling like a more intense level of cramping. And then it got really, really bad. As I've noticed through the biopsies, like at first your uterus is doesn't really react. And then after a few seconds, it just starts like, oh shit, what are you doing to me? And it just starts like going crazy. So once they get through about the middle of the biopsy, my uterus starts raising Cain. And at that point, I remember really just freaking out and saying, I don't think I can do this. And the doctor was like, we're already doing it. Just hang on. We're already doing it. And it just got really, really bad. Because I think my uterus was doing this and my cervix was moving and the thing was on my cervix and it was just like, just a recipe for pain. Y'all, I was screaming in the doctor's office, which is so not like me. I'm like one of those people that likes to keep my composure. I don't like people to see me cry. You will not see this girl emotional at work, or even when I had my loss, I didn't cry at the doctor. I cried when I got in the parking lot. But this was so much pain that I just could not do it. And I just started sobbing during my procedure. And that was the most pain I've ever been in. Again, it was only a minute or two, but it was so much pain. And it was because of that dang tenaculum thing. And I swear to y'all, I don't know if I could do that again. I feel like I totally blacked out. I don't really remember anything. I don't remember holding my husband's hand, even though he was right there. I have no idea what he said to me. I mean, I'm just like in another world. And they removed all of the tools and I was just laying there. I was awake, but I was like almost unconscious at this point. And I was just sobbing. And the doctor was like, I'm so sorry. That was so painful. We had to stabilize your cervix. And I said, it's not your fault. I understand. I was still talking to her while I was sobbing. And I just gave her like a thumbs up, like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Just leave me alone. So they just gave me space and I just cried on the table for like 5 minutes, just crying. And I think it was a lot of things. I think it was the extreme pain. I think it was the trauma of the experience. I think it was the emotional trauma of like, this is my 4th biopsy. I just want to have a baby. This is so exhausting and overwhelming. It was everything. It was this whole battle of pregnancy loss and recurrent loss and trying to get through that. And you just feel defeated. Like, I just remember laying there feeling so defeated. I remember during the procedure feeling like, why am I awake for this? Like, I should be asleep right now. I don't understand why we're awake for these things. I think they should be really transparent with patients and say, if we have to use a tenaculum, this is going to be really, really painful. Like, if she had prepared me for that, it might have been better. Maybe, probably not, but if she had just been like, okay, this is going to really be painful, then I might have not felt so weird in my reaction. But after getting on TikTok, this is such a typical reaction. And if you get an IUD inserted, it's the same thing. And you can go watch those videos about how painful it is. And people just cry and it's just terrible. So I just remember feeling so defeated afterwards. And like the devil was in my head and he was saying things like, this is so hard. Maybe you shouldn't be a mom, or maybe you're trying too hard. And I was feeling feelings like I can't do this anymore. I'm not strong enough to do this. And I just remember I got in the car and I told my husband afterwards, I'm just like, I feel defeated. Like, and I just think, I just want to pause and say, just because something's hard doesn't mean you can't overcome it, doesn't mean you can't have success. Just because it's hard doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be doing it. I think I just felt like, why is this journey so hard for me? Like, is this a sign that I'm not supposed to be a mom? But in my heart, I want to be a mom. I feel called to be a mom. I deserve to be a mom. It's not my fault what's happening to me in my body. It's not anything I've done to deserve it. It's just a medical problem that we're trying to fix to enable me to have success. When it comes to pregnancy loss or even infertility, oftentimes it's just a medical system in your body and you have to figure out why it's not working properly. It's just like if you had a lung infection or if you had a problem with your eye or your tooth, like anything, or your throat, like your heart, it's a medical problem. And in order for that system, that reproductive system to work properly, you have to have it in good order. And so it's not, it just happens to be the system in our body that produces children. So it starts to feel like a moral battle, but it's not. It's just a medical problem that you try to resolve so you can have success. And I hate it because it feels so much deeper than that, but that's all it is. So I just want to say that to you, that like if you're going through this and there's something going on with your uterus, or you're not ovulating, or your egg quality, or you have chronic endometritis, like it's nothing that you have done to deserve it. It's a medical system. And we just have to pray that God can help those doctors help heal us. And if not, pray that God finds the path in our life to help us be parents in another way. But I just had some really deep thoughts yesterday, dark thoughts, just because of how much pain that caused me. And I think sometimes when something is painful or hard, you just feel like you should give up. That's like a natural reaction, but no, I'm just here to tell you, don't give up. So after the procedure, I was fine. I'm not gonna lie. That really messed with my head. And all day yesterday, I was just in a really bad place, just with how painful that was. Like that was legitimately trauma, physical trauma. Like that terrified me. I was really upset, like all the things. And we went to Chick-fil-A, got breakfast, which I always recommend after something like that. Treat yourself to a yummy meal. I got a lot of chicken minis and really enjoyed it. And then we went to a couple shops on our way home because it's a little bit of a drive for us. And so I just got my mind out of my current situation. Actually bought a couple baby items at the store, which was actually good for me because I went from like really feeling down to like, no, let's get out of this funk. You're gonna be a mom someday. We're gonna get you there. And retail therapy is good for everybody. So went to some retail therapy and then came home and just rested. I did have quite a few cramps throughout the day. I did stay on ibuprofen because that was so painful. I think my cervix is causing me some discomfort, and today my cervix is just having some pain, so I may take some ibuprofen. But overall, I had very little spotting, no bleeding, so that's a good sign. And I think I'll just continue to heal from here. So what's next? I will get my results in a few days. I'm very anxious about it. I don't know what my results are gonna say, if I still have CE. Every time you do this, the results are different, so I don't know what to expect. If it was gone, I will literally get on the floor and cry and say, thank you, God, because this has been such a battle for me. But it's a battle for a lot of women. And for next steps for me, I am taking these results to my reproductive immunologist, and I meet with him in a couple weeks, and he is going to give me a game plan on how we move forward, how I can treat this if it's still positive, what he thinks about it. And then we will form a game plan to hopefully try to conceive again, because most of my testing has come back really good. There's a few things he found in my testing, which you can view on my channel. And then I'm going to update you guys with like what he has to say about my results after that meeting, so we can like have a formal protocol and game plan as we move forward. So that's my update. So if you go in for your biopsy, you can get through it. Just be tough. And if it's too much, ask your doctor, can I be sedated? Do you have any numbing agent? Are you going to have to use a tenaculum? Like, ask questions. And I hate it, but it's quick. It's just a part of this journey, and I'm alive, so if I can do it, you can do it. So thank you for watching this video. I'm super glad you joined me today. I hope what I said resonated with you. Many prayers and love to you on this battle that you're on, and I wish you the most success. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see y'all next time. Hope y'all have a very blessed day. Bye.